What does it mean to shape space? When did we stop merely surviving and start designing? Is architecture just the story of buildings or the story of us? Can a wall hold more than bricks? Can a roof shelter more than bodies? What if every structure we build is a mirror of who we are and who we fear to become? Are we the creators of architecture or its creations? Long before history began, before words were carved in stone, something else was carved first: the desire to shape the world around us. To be human is to design, not because we had to, but because we could. Architecture is not a modern invention. It is an ancient instinct to transform chaos into order, space into story, matter into meaning. The first shelter was not made of stone, but of thought. A decision that this place, this shape, this boundary matters. At the dawn of time, there was only the question: where do we live? Not merely as a matter of survival, but as a matter of meaning. The moment an early human stacked a stone with intent, leaned a branch to form a roof, or carved out a hollow for warmth, not out of instinct, but of imagination, a threshold was crossed. No longer creatures adapting to the world. We became a species shaping it. Architecture was not invented, it emerged, a murmur between need and creativity. The first shelter was not a design, it was a decision to claim a place, to shape space, to tell the world, we are here. Then came food, and with food, permanence. We stopped wandering and began to stay. From wandering bands to rooted settlements, our spaces thickened with meaning. Shelter became structure, structure became society. Walls no longer shielded us from wind alone. They began to define who was within and who was without. From harvest came surplus, from surplus, temples, and from temples, the divine. We no longer just built for comfort, we built for gods. We built to touch the heavens. Stone was no longer stone, it was faith frozen in form. Ideologies carved in permanence. Architecture became our mythology, rendered in matter. With civilization came complexity, grids of power, corridors of command, roads of empire. Cities became not just settlements, but statements. Each arch, aqueduct, and avenue, a stage for sovereignty to perform eternity. In these theaters of stone, we learned to walk through hierarchies as much as through streets. Then came the age of cathedrals and cosmic diagrams. Symmetry spoke of the divine order. Domes echoed the heavens. Geometry met spirituality. Mathematics became the new mysticism. Architecture was a prayer, etched into earth. And then machines, steel, glass, concrete. Forms once impossible became commonplace. The age of ornament gave way to the age of efficiency. The architect, now an engineer of flow and function. We built faster, higher, stronger. But something was lost. Poetry gave way to process. Soul surrendered to speed. Today we build not just with materials, but with data, sensors, and code. Architecture learns, reacts, predicts. We design not only spaces to inhabit, but worlds we may never physically enter. Virtual realms, augmented realities. Architecture has transcended matter. And yet, in all our progress, we return, silently, urgently, to the oldest of questions. How do we live? How do we live well? How do we live together? In a world on fire, architecture may no longer be about reaching for the sky, but about rerouting in the soil, about resilience, not reverence, about building with the earth, not just upon it. Architecture is not merely shelter, it is memory, fossilized in form, a language of stone, steel, shadow, and light. Every space we shape, every material we choose, is a sentence in the ongoing story of our species, a story of survival and significance, of power and compassion, of roots and revolutions. In its silence, architecture speaks. It whispers the prayers of forgotten ancestors. It sings the ambition of civilizations. And in its ruins, it hums the fragility of all things built. Culture gives it soul, climate gives it shape, technology gives it tools, but only humanness gives it purpose. And here lies the paradox. We build to endure, yet the most vital buildings are those that serve the now. The ones that shelter the vulnerable, uplift the weary, respect the land, and stitch us back together. Today's architect is no longer just a builder. They are a translator between people and planet, between the memory of the past and the urgency of the future. Let us not build fortresses of ego, but sanctuaries of empathy, not towers of spectacle, but structures of service. Not machines for living, but living things themselves. And perhaps the most revolutionary architecture will not be the tallest or the most intelligent, but the kindest, the one that listens to the earth, to the people, to the silence in between. Because in the end, architecture is not about buildings. It is about being.